OGAccountability.com.
We're back for this third installment on the OG Accountability Podcast. We're sitting here in Condition 1 Combat Center. They actually have a class wrapping up right now, and we were talking about, just before we took a break, of knowing, what's that old saying, you need to know what you know.
Right.
And when you know what you know, that will create a different response in you. When you know what you're talking about, you can talk with authority. You can talk with, complete and utter confidence. When you are doing training, you are learning, you are going to that dark place, as you say, and getting very humbled in a lot of areas. And once you start learning, it creates a different response in yourself on how you are in situational awareness. But when you now, at any level of threat, maybe you know what level you have to deal with things. We've always said very clearly, it's been echoed out since we've been recording, is most of the time just walk away.
Yeah, well, one of the things that training does is it builds confidence, right? And so whenever you are faced with that situation, outside of a controlled environment like a gym or like, an academy, you don't have to respond to people like that because you roll with guys tougher than that on Wednesday night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, you know that walking into it, because if there's somebody out there posturing, and look, the guys that reach the levels in MMA, you're going to see that those guys that reach those high levels in jiu-jitsu, wrestling, Muay Thai, MMA, whatever it is, they don't go out and do that stuff. You have an outlier every now and then, right? You have an anomaly. You've heard of, and you've heard of those guys who get in trouble, right? But
two come to mind, Nate and Nick.
Actually, those two guys don't really do. They're
amazing.
They're really, really. I like their view on things.
Well, what's funny is when they first came on the scene, I didn't like them, and then I really started watching them. I'm like, holy crap, these guys these
real.
Two brothers are unbelievable.
Yeah, they're real.
But I think a lot of times for them, trouble finds them. People go to them and try to cause problems.
Yeah, and like I was saying, guys that get to that level, yeah, and if shame on you if you challenge a pro fighter to a fight. I mean, pro fighters, that's what they do for a living.
They're elite athletes.
Yeah, that's what they do. Right?
They're the Tom Brady's of the jiu-jitsu and MMA world.
Mm-hmm.
And they're elite athletes. This is probably one of the highest forms of athleticism there is.
Yeah, I truly believe that too. Standing across from somebody else, trying to pose their will on them, you have to be in phenomenal shape, right, to be able to stand in front of somebody for 15 to 25 minutes, however long that fight is.
That's
an eternity.
Time.
That is a very long time. And if you're walking out of the, somebody's walking out of the convenience store and wants to, take a bite of one of those guys, you better pack a lunch, because they're going to bring it.
That was cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, you better
Yeah.
Don't go looking for that battle.
Well, that's the thing, is you got people out there that do, and that's their business to find out the hard way if they need to.
And I think one of the things that we saw, people who do not know how to control their emotions. About 6-7 years ago, there was a guy who was going to fight for the Tough Championship, and he was at some casino, kicked a window out, and
what was that guy's name?
Went in, started running this
Machine or something, wasn't it?
War Machine.
War Machine, yeah, that guy.
He's in prison now, but
yeah, I know, because he beat up his girlfriend really bad.
Really bad.
Yeah.
But he found out real quick. Dana fired him immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, you're one of the great fighters out there, an upcoming fighter, but you have no position in this business if you're going to be the tough guy out on the streets.
Right.
Like, there's a standard that we have set in this community, and you broke that standard.
Well, yeah, I mean, those guys understand if they're trying to reach that, if they're trying to reach the pinnacle of that sport, if you've got a fight scheduled and you go to jail, then, if that's the way you put food on the table, you can't put food on the table anymore, right? Yeah. And that's why they're professional, and that's why they're very good at what they do.
When I look back and you talk about that 25 minutes, even 15 minutes probably once a year I spark up Forrest Griffin and Stephen Bonner. Tough one, where those guys went out and fought almost Tank Abbott style for 15 minutes straight. Never seen a feat like that before. Very few and far between.
There's been some good ones. That was a really good one. That was really a benchmark match for the UFC, because that's kind of what got it going, right?
Yeah.
Was that fight. But there's been some great ones that I've watched through the years. Robbie Lawler, he's had some good ones. Chuck Liddell, Vanderlei Silva was good. But in terms of self-defense, right? Those guys possess the skills to defend themselves out on the streets, right? So if these combative sports, combative arts, okay, have been around since wrestling was one of the original Olympic sports, right?
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu's been around forever. Japan, way back, even for, hell, the Hindus even before that, right? Boxing been around forever, right? Some Muay Thai been in Thailand and Cambodia. Cambodia has the Muay Bran and things like that. The derivatives of Muay Thai.
Is Muay Thai more limb striking?
Well, yes. What Muay Thai is the art of 8 limbs, right? So 2 hands, 2 elbows, 2 knees, 2 feet, right? That's the art of 8 limbs, because you can use all 8 striking surfaces, right? So that's why we incorporated Muay Thai into our program here, because we want people to have a diverse options for striking, right? And striking is important too. I don't want to minimize the effectiveness of striking. Okay, it absolutely is vital to self-defense, especially when you talk about controlling, distance, controlling the range between you and somebody. There's a threat there that other person has to contend with if you're willing to hit them in the face. And no, people don't like getting hit in the face, right? If you hit somebody in the face, that very well could deter the attack, right? If you preemptively, if they've stated their intent and you preemptively, knock their teeth out their head, then
You just said something, and this is even prevalent.
I think I'm a good coach.
You're a good coach.
We've established quite a community here, but I don't have all the answers, right? And I hope to never have all the answers, because I always want to be learning and growing, right?
And the only way you can do that's how? Hit the mats over and over and over.
And go through those dark places, as long as you're consistent with it, right? We talked about being consistent. You have to be consistent with your training. If you're not consistent with your training, you're not going to connect the dots, right? And that's very important, because if you're not doing that, then you're going back to what happens when it goes off script, right? Whenever you end up, there's a reaction, or there's a movement or a position that you haven't been in before, right? That comes with being on the mats and learning, right? And feeling it before. You can't go there until you've been in those positions. You don't know how to deal with it until you've been there and you've trained in it and you've practiced it and you've drilled it, and then you've applied it to your live rolling, right? That to me is and Matt's brought this up many times, is it's one thing to drill. You need to drill, but then you need to go live and work on that stuff while you're drilling live with an opposing resisting opponent, right? If you're not doing that, you're doing Taibo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're doing a choreographed,
Yeah.
dance or choreographed steps to a person who's just letting you do them.
Yeah.
What are you learning there?
It's just like weight training. Resistance builds.
Yeah.
Resistance builds where it builds positive results.
Yes. Yeah.
And so when you talk about Matt and you yourself, from all the other backgrounds that you have, y'all aren't just bringing in your thought process to this gym. you're bringing in all the experiences that you've had at other gyms with other people, with working with people all over the country. Like you said, Matt's been all over the place. Mm-hmm. So it isn't like, well, Matt's the top dog because he's the trainer here and the coach here. No, he started off in gyms where he wasn't the top dog, and he worked his way up. He learned how to fight against lots of different people, not just here. So he's bringing. He's a black belt, correct?
Oh yeah, he's a third-degree black belt.
Third-degree black belt.
With the knowledge of his knowledge though is far beyond that, in my opinion, and he's constantly improving his game. Right?
And he knows how to teach it.
Yes, he does, and he knows how to teach it safely. That's very important, right? Matt started in the Army with the Army Combatives Program, and Matt Larson traveled all over. Contracted by the Army to travel all over and teach the Army Combatives Program. Army Combatives Program, I think, is very good. And I can even I'm a Marine, but I have no problem saying that the Army Combative Program is phenomenal. And the way that they set it up, especially to train large groups of people, where it's drills that are easily duplicated to where you're actually feeling how it works in real time, and you're getting lots of reps in because you're flowing with an opponent or somebody you're drilling with. So he's been all over, and we bring that experience here, and not only experience on the mats and how to train people, but how to run a business and what people like. That's been a big part of what we do here is culture. Okay, we want a very positive culture at this place, because that way people could come in and feel welcome. Okay? Yeah. They're not going to come in and feel like they are like they're doing something that is going to make them uncomfortable. And if they are uncomfortable at first, if you have the right culture of your academy, then people are going to start growing there, and they're going to that discomfort becomes growth.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
That's what we want. We want our community, our members, our family to get at least 1% better every day. Just 1% better. Right? In 100 days, you're 100% better. Some days you get 5% better. Some days you get 10% better. I mean, there are things that, in my own training, I start connecting things. Right? It's like, oh, this is, okay. Now I'm starting to get it. Whenever it's put to me in some sort of principle-based way, it starts to click.
One of the things that I have noticed a few times I've been up here, and I really like, and you do a great job at it, and I'm a people person, so I sometimes pay attention to stuff that probably a lot of people wouldn't. I have noticed there are no cliques here.
No.
You talk to every single person exactly the same.
Yep.
And that says a lot that this is about people.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't about let me get with my 4 guys and we're a brotherhood and everybody else can kick rocks. No, everybody's included here, from the kids to the women to the men.
Yeah.
Every person that walks through this door, you're treated with the same amount of respect.
Because every person has an inherent right to defend themselves. Okay, it's one of our most basic, innate, instinctive actions, right, or beliefs. We want to survive. We don't want to hurt. We talk about, pleasure versus pain. People don't want to get hurt, right? But in order to keep from getting hurt, then there's some growth pains that needs to, that a person needs to go through so they don't experience that later.
Yeah.
Right? There's some growth that needs to occur first. And that will minimize, or could possibly prevent that injury or that, I hate to say death, but I mean, it very easily could possibly happen. We hear about it every day on the news, right? Somebody's dying. Somebody was killed. Somebody got beat to death. Somebody got shot.
And another example, somebody that had been through just a minuscule amount of training through law enforcement. We saw several years ago somebody who did not know when to stop. That gentleman that got the guy in the choke, the rear naked choke, and had he had the proper training, he probably would have realized this threat has been neutralized a long time ago.
Yes, and we are training a lot of law enforcement agencies. We start a training package with Montgomery County Sheriff's Department in November. Some guys from Precinct 3 Constables, Ryan Gable's group, contacted me yesterday. They got a group of guys who want to come train. They're going to come train. And a lot of what we teach them is, handcuffing procedures, takedowns, being able to control someone with doing minimal damage to them, right? Be able to control that person. Put them, it's always great to have 2 or more, right, other officers helping you, but that's not always the case, right? A lot of times these officers or these deputies or, these law enforcement guys, they're out there on their own, and they need to have the skills to be able to deal with that individual on their own. They have to have that skill set, and a lot of that's going to come from all those principles we talked about, right? You're in or out, close that distance, improve your position, get a takedown. There's a video clip of an officer a few weeks ago who did a hip toss. Perfect. Controlled the elbow, had the underhook, stepped through foot position, perfect. Made the throw, ended up, the guy was on the side, ended up in a technical mount, got the Kimura, and right from that Kimura, he went straight to cuffing position. That guy trains. The other gentleman was taller than him. Okay. He looked like he could handle himself, but because of that training, he was able to neutralize that guy very quickly.
Yeah.
Right? Very quickly.
And with 15 to 20 pounds of equipment on.
Yes. And that individual that he had to subdue probably didn't go home with too many, probably didn't have to go to the hospital afterwards, right? The minimal amount of force was needed. In other words, he didn't have to go to a tool, right? And that's one of the things that we want to stress to law enforcement whenever we do train them is, look, we want to improve the optics here, right? We want to give you the confidence in your hand-to-hand ability to deal with these threats or these individuals, right? Without having to go to a tool so early, right? Have confidence in your own ability. Not saying that if a tool's not warranted, don't light them up like a Christmas tree. Yeah. Okay, I'm not saying that. But give them the confidence that they don't have to if they don't need to. What if the person's just got, what if they're having some kind of mental disorder? So we talked about this before with, a lot of people, they may have some kind of mental disorder and they just don't need to be necessarily killed, right? Or deadly force used against them. So what we want to do is we want to improve those optics, right? We want to make sure that, one, is keeping the people that keep us safe, is keeping them out of trouble, right? Because those guys go out there every day and they got a thankless job, right? They really do. They're the ones out there keeping our community safe. They're the ones out there making those stops at 3 a.m. by themselves.
When everybody's running from, they're running too.
That's their job, right? And we truly believe that, and there are a lot of law enforcement guys out there that train, and they take it very seriously. And the reason they do is because they got a family at home too, and then a lot of them do it because it keeps them physically fit, keeps them sharp, because you're not going to get any more sharp than getting on the mats with guys that are better than whatever threat you're going to be dealing with, or more capable of any threat that they deal with out there. Yeah. Right. If they're on the mats with these guys all the time, they're staying sharp. Yeah. They're maintaining a high level of combative skills that will keep them safe.
And I think in any sport, you learn to start reading situations, like in basketball or in football, or you start noticing the way that like linebackers set up, different things. Well, once you start training regularly and somebody puts their hand on your shoulder, now I recognize 15 different options where I can stick my hand to get the best position. And it is something that you start triggering, just like in the boxing world. Man, if you're boxing somebody and those hands drop below their nipples, they're tired. They're tired. There's certain things that you look for, and you find the ways that you can open up and get to do, well, the most damage in boxing, because everybody wants the knockout. But sometimes it's not the knockout.
Always sexy.
But sometimes you can go to the judge. It just really depends on the amount that you want to put into it. And you start recognizing. You were just showing me a few things to show with my daughter, and your knowledge is so far superior to mine. You're like, no, take your knee and move it this way. And it's like you automatically, you don't even have to think about it.
I feel it.
You feel it. And that's what training does. It puts you in a position And that's to every aspect of life. Whatever you work at and do it purposely, you're going to become good at. But I like what you said. Don't just go to the place that you're the top dog. Go find some place where you're in that dark place and realize, oh crap, there are people out there that can pretzel me up that fast.
Absolutely. Always improving. And the only way to improve is to train with people that are better than you. That's it. All right? You've got to you've got to learn how to lose. That you've got to learn how to lose. Okay? And don't look at losing as losing. Okay? You got to learn how to lose, because losing is where you learn.
Losing's a lesson.
Yes, it is.
Losing's a lesson.
Yes. Buddy of mine reached out to me last night, and he had a chance to roll with Matt last night. And he's like, man, every roll is a lesson, and I learned a lot from Matt last night.
Well, it's amazing that you have this team that y'all built, and the thing about most sports, and I really love what's happened in MMA, the women have become just as exciting as the men. I'm the first time I ever saw Gina Carano come out and straight heel kick a lady to the face, I was like, I'm in love. I've never seen this. And to see it just explode, that they are not just, having a daughter, I will say there's a lot of women's sports that get a bad rap because, like, oh, they're women, they throw like a girl, they aren't as exciting as the men. Well, when it comes to MMA, I tell you what I kind of tie it to. Everybody likes to watch the heavyweights slug it out and hope for a knockout. Not me. I like to watch the welterweights get out there and put on a clinic.
Get out there,
and just they're lightning fast, and they are so methodical in everything they do. And that is carried over to the women's side. There are women out there, and let's just look at Ronda Rousey. When she talks about the way that her mom made her train, like she would be making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Her mom would come up behind her and get her in a rear naked choke. She never knew when. People say, well, that's crazy. She was the world champ for how many years?
Yeah.
Won
a bronze medal.
Yeah. Anybody that gets in the ring with her, she's probably going to walk off with your arm. And that came with getting the right coaches, the right teachers, and finding. People study where to save money on their car insurance. People go to the internet before they go out to eat somewhere, and they go to Yelp. They get all the reviews. Get in the right gym with the right coaches and the right teaching.
Right. If I were going to give anybody advice on, what type of training or where to go for training, go to a place. You can always come here. That's great. I think we do a pretty good job of the programs we put together of getting people prepared, especially for self-defense scenarios, right? Especially for those situations. I think we really do a good job of relating what we're doing in here on the mat to what we could be doing on here. Everything from getting to a weapon. Maybe I do need to get to a higher level of force and I'm in a clinch. So what position do I need to be in? I need to have a good head position. I need to have an underhook. I need to have my weapon side hit back. I may be able to do there and make if this engagement's going further, then and then I'll go to that higher level of force and go deadly force if I need to. Or maybe you're clinched with somebody and you see them go to their they go to their pocket to pull out an edge weapon, pull out a blade. If you're clinched up, if you're in close proximity to them and you're in some type of clinch, you can see or feel that happen, and now you can deal with that, in real time, okay. And it may be better because it's not fully deployed at the time, right? Now, okay, good. Wrist control, forearm control, tying it up. That knife isn't going anywhere. Now I can get the takedown, lay him down on the weapon. Now, now I can improve my position or get away or just get away. But if I would go ahead, I'm sorry.
You just showed me something just a few minutes ago. We were kind of messing around, and I was talking about a situation that happened, and you grabbed my arm and you wrist control, and you said, now what are my options here? And you immediately said, I can come here, single leg, I can flip you, I can do this, and started showing stuff. When you can get control and know what to do from that place, wrist control, what I just learned is
hand and wrist control is huge. Huge. Okay? Watch wrestling. Watch jiu-jitsu. Right? Go watch those guys and watch all the wrist releases that are taking place inside, or there are wrist releases and things taking place inside of that match that you can see happening. You don't think much of it whenever you're standing up and you're just doing wrist releases. But then when you start applying it to your live rolling, your live training, it's like, man, that's critical. It's critical when you start dealing with, maybe edge weapons or knives. You need to be able to control those hands and arms. Somebody trying to grab you, you don't want them controlling your wrist, right? You need to know how to get your wrist out of that, especially for women, okay? Like, I want to go back to what I was saying earlier about, if I were going to give someone, where I believe they should go train, okay? If they were looking for, before I chose one of these novel, one of these off-the-wall systems, right? And there's a ton out there, okay? I would recommend, before they do any of that, go to a school that has a good jiu-jitsu and grappling program, that has a good striking program, okay? Because there are other places out there that look real cool hitting mitts, because they're teaching 1 through 4 combinations, maybe a slip in there here and there whenever it's called, right? But are they really teaching strategic striking? Are they teaching you how to get your head on, how to create angles, how to move in the pocket, how to get, how to switch stances? Are they, and not only just switch stances like, okay, fight out of a left-handed fighting stance. Now, I'm talking about switching stances while you're engaged. How do you create angles when you're throwing your kicks? Are you getting your head offline, right? It's little things like that that make the difference, because there's people out there that actually have the real knowledge. A lot of these places just scratch the surface, and they don't give you the details, and then they don't train it right when they're prac-apping it.
Yeah.
Right? They don't do that.
28 minutes ago, I learned in a lot of scenario, I don't know.
Shit.
When you get with somebody who knows what they're doing, and Joe, just a few minutes of some of the things you were showing me, I realized there's a little I do know, and there's a whole heck of a lot I don't know. And we are in the information super age. People are getting on top of their health. They're getting on top of their finances. Why not? I think we were talking about this. Chael Sonnen was talking about less than 2% of the population will ever take any advanced class on their self-protection. Less than 2%.
Well, that's, I can't speak to that because I don't know why they're not, that's just people. I can't speak to that. Okay. Because what those people are doing is they're not, it's that it'll never happen to me mentality, right? It'll never happen to me. It happens to all those other people until it doesn't. Right. If you're going to go find a place that has a good jiu-jitsu program, good striking program. Ladies, you got to have jiu-jitsu. I don't care who out there says you don't want to be on the ground. If you end up there, you better know what you're doing, and not from one of these places that just, gloss over grappling because they don't have the knowledge to truly teach it. That's the problem.
That's the problem. That's
they
the issue
don't have the knowledge to truly teach it, and they are out there.
When we get into a real world scenario, and like you said, nobody ever thinks it'll happen to them. In law enforcement, if somebody has a gun pulled on them, they already know this. You can ask them, what color was the gun? Well, how big was it? And they can't answer any. It doesn't matter if it's a 22. When somebody has a gun in your face, it looks like it's this big. And so when you get caught in that scenario and you think that mentality, it'll never happen to me, there are people who prey on that it'll never happen to me mentality. Just people walking through a parking lot, police will tell you, if you have your head on a swivel, a seasoned criminal already knows I'm probably not going to mess with that person. I want the person that's looking at their phone, digging in their purse, completely unaware to anything that's going around. And situational awareness is key. But let's move past situational awareness and let's say have situational awareness, but also have the tools in your bag to say, if I get in the scenario, I know how to handle myself.
Yeah, and so I watched an interview, and it's on YouTube, and I got to go find it again because it was fascinating. But they were talking to 3 guys who were on death row for murder. Right? They committed multiple murders, robberies, and things like that. And here's the thing. even though you may be situational aware, doesn't mean that you're not going to be a victim. It doesn't mean that you can't be targeted, right? Because what these three guys were talking about, these three criminals, animals, and they were really speaking from an animal's, state of mind, a very primal state of mind. That even though somebody may be aware or may be able to, may be capable of handling themselves, they would switch their tactics, right? So even if it was a guy walking out who looked physically fit, may have been looking around to see what was going on, maybe been situational aware, they just changed their tactics. And one of the guys was like, "Yeah, I'll just walk up and shoot him in the head."
Well, and there's nothing you can do to prepare for that.
Yeah, there is no training for that, right? Yeah. You can be situational aware, and if you see that car pulling around, if they're passing up parking spaces, right, and coming around to you, you may need to watch them, but run. Right? Or find cover, and if you've got a higher level of force, at least level the playing field.
Yeah.
Right? Find cover, get to your higher level of force, and now maybe you can engage, right? Don't try to pull your weapon on somebody who's already pulled on you and within range. All right? If anything, go find cover, then you can engage.
Yeah.
Right? Get somewhere safe.
And I want to come back. And do this. Hopefully Matt can be here one day. I didn't realize we've already hit the 2-hour mark. But Joe, thank you so much for having us.
No, thank you for coming out, David. I really appreciate it.
I want to do this more. I'm looking forward to Saturday, and I'm looking forward to slowly getting more involved, because I realize there's some tools that I need in my arsenal, and you guys have the ability to give them to people. So what you're doing is you're giving people, and I know some people would snicker at this, life-saving skills.
Yeah.
Life-saving.
Mm-hmm. It's critical training.
Mm-hmm. And when you, like you said, when you have the proper training, you don't think, you feel.
Yeah, and it goes beyond just training. It becomes a lifestyle. It becomes a way of life. You're in here training, you're getting your sweat on, you're learning, you're training with resisting opponents, you're building these physical skills, but then you start to carry this with you everywhere you go.
Yeah.
Right? Not just the physical skills, but the attention to detail, the situational awareness. All that stuff becomes ingrained through the sweat and growth that you experience training.
Love it, bro. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, David.
Absolutely, man.